Hi, it's Great Northern JJ again with another episode of Rocky Off the Rails. This is part two, so we actually pre-recorded this because I'm still out in the world somewhere else and I'm not here live. But we do have Rocky here with us, and once again, Brother Dan is joining us for another episode here. So this is part two, a continuation. I wanted to break this up so we didn't, well, actually, so I could stretch the content out. But there was enough to talk about, and then we probably, who knows, we might go over. We haven't set an agenda on this, but I think we have a lot of things to still discuss and bring up. But one thing I wanted to start with is things that we were talking about near the end of last show, or actually throughout that show. But wanted to show some slides that our dad took, and so let me see if I can get that to go full screen. Or not. Yeah, this will do. Okay, so this is on the property of McLeod River Railroad. There's the Santa Maria Valley 21. This was from researching this. This was a Mikado, I think. So it's a 282. And it was not running at the time, but it turns out this, among several other locomotives, have found their way up to Oregon. And the last I read about this one, it's in Astoria, and they're working their way through restoring this. So if it's not already restored, then they're working on it. Now that's different. There's another locomotive that's there's another rail excursion that's here. It's called Santiam something. Let me see. It is the Santiam excursion trains. They operate both a diesel and the 205 locomotive. So I think we're showing that right now on the screen. Check on that. Yes, we are. Can't see that screen when I'm showing this. So yeah, so that's a different locomotive. But that one's something that you could go and ride today. But they both spent their time on the Santa Maria Valley, which I think is named after a place where my brother spent some time.
From 2007 to 2018, I lived in Santa Maria, California, which is north of Santa Barbara, close to San Luis Obispo, if people know where that's at, or Morro Bay. And it's where I had a friend who helped me get my life back together when I really needed that. And so I appreciated that. And every day I would cross those tracks that those engines probably used to service local industries in Santa Maria, and a lot of the fields and all that. So they would collect all the produce and all that from the different places that would get boxed up and shipped all over the country.
Right.
So way back in the day, they weren't doing that as much, but they would probably sending out other kinds of produce and things like that.
And I want to get back to something here because there was another thing that we shared with our dad and we've kind of inherited. But that's something you also saw down in Santa Maria or close to it was it was very close to Vandenberg Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. And so I think you got to go over and see some live launches from there, or at least the trails of them going up when you couldn't see directly the launch.
Right. Well, you could almost always see the trail if it was not a foggy day where I was.
Mm-hmm.
In Santa Maria, being north of Vandenberg, you could look to the south and see the bright dot of the rising rocket, and then see sometimes the vapor trail that occurs when that rocket goes through a more moist part of the atmosphere, and it turns it into clouds basically as it's running through it. But sometimes there were a couple of times where I got actually go on site to see a couple of launches, and that was really in 2018. It was before SpaceX started launching a lot. But yeah, I've always been interested in space, mainly because Dad was interested in space too, and you know, we were interested in science fiction, and we were just talking before the show about John Williams and it was huge impact his music on those sci-fi films had on me and you, I'm sure too.
Well, I mean, there's so many things that interests that our parents had that we inherited. Music was one of them. Music was a really strong one. I mean, we mentioned things about 4-H, but and we had a lot of friends that we grew up with. Some of them we still keep in touch with that were part of that. Certainly. And so I wanted to show a book. It's actually a mission final report that my dad got. This is 1967.
That's a NASA report, it says in the fine print, for the Mariner program. And that symbol people know probably for other reasons, but that's the symbol for Venus, the planet.
Yep.
And so
it's also like the female symbol, whereas Mars actually has the male symbol, or that's it. But I just picked this up. It's in my bookshelf. This is one of the things that I rescued from Dad's collection of a lot of books. Many of them we had to get rid of. I forget what we did with them all, but some of them might have, but it got to the dumpster.
Many were given away, but you're right. Unfortunately, there's just not a whole lot of desire for a lot of those books. But I'm glad that you got to keep that one. That's cool.
I kept a number of them, including there's some textbooks that he had from his geology studies that I've never really cracked open, but I was interested about. I've always been interested also about geology and rocks and plate tectonics and whatnot. It's a shame there was this Scientific American thing about plate tectonics that I swear I read that from cover to cover all the time. Another thing that I always read was I found all of Dad's rocketry books about the early space program, and I think those are still at Mom's house right now. They're not in the best of shape, but one of the other books is that, I mean, it kind of sparked my interest in engineering, but this is a title called The Way Things Work, and this was on Dad's shelves, and I rescued that from there. But this is the first printing of this, and copyright 1967 it says here. But there are some other things in Germany. I'm not going to pretend to pronounce that. But it says basically The Way Things Work in German. But it has a lot of interesting things, including like this. You ever notice about this is the Doppler effect here? And so you notice a couple of examples are like a motorcycle driving by you, or a train engine with a whistle blowing, and how it changes pitch as it passes you. And the interesting thing was each one of these little vignettes here, or little stories, gives you an explanation where you can't really read too well in the photos, but there's just lots of things in here about the stuff. Even there's too much to go into. But there's some things that sat on my dad's shelves that I was attracted to, as well as I found his science fiction books and starting to read those. So mostly Robert Heinlein, Arthur C. Clarke, several other really big names.
Alan Dean Foster was one.
Yep,
I know that he liked, and I did too.
Alan Dean Foster. There was one that I never read, but people probably will know the name because it's been turned into a television show. In fact, many of his writings have been turned into movies or television shows with Philip K. Dick.
Mm-hmm. I've got that.
The Man in the High
Castle.
High Castle.
Yeah.
There was a television series in the last 10, 15 years. Or I forget what channel it might have been.
That was one of the ones that I sang.
Hulu, I think, had it. But anyways,
yeah,
lots of things that we got that just became part of us that were part of our dad. We didn't get his hair, but...
No, that's why I'm wearing a hat.
Anyways, let me go through another thing, and then we'll go back to the pictures because they're really interesting. Remember I talked about 4-H? Well, this was one of my projects here. It's a lamp. My dad helped me make some of this, but I've always been a collector and probably got that also from Dad. Mm-hmm. But I collected all these elementary school pencils. In our elementary school, which is now no longer an elementary school, Weitzel Falcons. So it was Weitzel Elementary School on 4th Street, I believe, in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Yes.
And they had the little pencil machines, and you could put a little coin in, probably my milk money, but you could put a coin in and turn around, and you would get a couple of pencils. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that came out at the time was there were states and capitals in here. So Providence is the state capital. Frankfurt is the capital of Kentucky, but also the Weitzel Falcons things. And then also, remember, all the way back in the 70s when we grew up, learning the metric system was a big thing.
Yep.
Now, it never took off.
Because we were going to go metric.
But, here's a 1 decagram equals 10 grams. But anyways, the nice thing about this thing, and I've restored this, we had these gum erasers down here at the bottom, and I found a new base, put new feet on it. All these things are kind of degraded. Mm-hmm. And I rerouted the wire down to the bottom.
But those are the original pencils.
These are the original pencils. This is not the original lampshade, but this is the original pennant for Weitzel Falcons, for which my brother and I both played, even though we were skinny little guys.
Flag football.
We played flag football.
Silly thing.
Yeah, we won the city championship. 2 years.
We never lost. Won the city championship.
We never lost a game.
That's your team. I don't think we.
The other elementary schools got pissed off at us in junior high, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Anyways, I remember
those pennants were a big thing. I remember, many of the things that Dad had were pennants from different places, and those were collectible thing.
We collected them. I remember we had like Disneyland and Disney World and
national parks.
We had a Freedom Train one. We had this one. It wasn't Fort Bragg, but there was a fort. Anyways, there's a lot of things. So I made that lamp I made another lamp, and I restored it as well because it was never completely finished.
Is that the football team's one that you had?
Yeah, so I had every football team. And when I
the NFL at that time, which was smaller.
Yeah. But interesting that I was able to find on eBay somebody was selling the same collection of those pencils. And I don't recall now. I'll have to go and look. But I think we had all those pencils. And I'd have to go look and see. So was it Oakland Raiders? Was it Los Angeles Raiders? It certainly wasn't Las Vegas Raiders.
It was Oakland at the time.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not sure when I bought those pencils what city they were in. But anyways, a number of teams have moved around. One of the teams moved and then changed its name. There was 2 teams that moved out. One moved out of Baltimore and one moved into Baltimore. So Indianapolis Colts, they used to be in Baltimore.
St. Louis Cardinals moved to Arizona.
Exactly. So, and then Cleveland Browns moved to become the Baltimore Ravens.
And then
they were recreated.
Yeah.
Houston Oilers.
Yeah.
Tennessee Titans. Yeah, so there's lots of movement. Anyways, it's a fascinating thing. But lots of things we're interested in. Let's go over.
To tie that back to electricity, the reason why we built those lamps, and you built pencil lamps, I built ones that I thought that we could drill out the bottom of an old glass Pepsi bottle.
Oh, yeah.
And Dad had a dilly of a time drilling a hole in the bottom of that Pepsi bottle. He wouldn't let me do it because he was afraid the glass would break and I'd cut my hands or something. But the point of those projects was to learn how to wire a lamp, how to take a lamp cord and wrap it around a socket and then wire up the plug on the other side and do it correctly. And I think we even soldered it and everything.
So this particular one, I actually did finish. And it's different than it was. I mean, the gum erasers had degraded over time. The bottom was just a piece of spray painted poster board, actually, and now it's wood. But this one actually won me a blue ribbon at that county fair, right? So that was another thing we did at the county fair. Every year we would do projects, either in leathercraft or in electricity or woodworking, and you would enter those in, and they would have people who would go and judge them, and then you would get awarded, like between a white ribbon for almost like a participation ribbon, all the way up to a red ribbon or a blue ribbon if you were like the best in that class. And then you could have been, I think there was a purple one, which is kind of like best in show,
right?
Which I never got one of those.
I never got one of those either.
But anyways, let's get back over to the pictures. So that was that one. Let me get my cursor back over there so I can make this picture. So I'm just showing that number 21 here, and he took several of these pictures, and of course at this time it was rusting. And then here's that photo, and this is one of the excursions that Dad went on, and this is number 25. This locomotive now, since I moved up here some years ago, there was a consortium or a group of guys that formed the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad. And before McLeod River Railroad really shuttled us down, they bought this from them. Either bought it or they got it. It is now a steam locomotive that is running out on the Oregon coast. So it still lives. It's still number 25. It still has the McLeod River Railroad logos on it, and you will actually see behind here in this picture as it sits right. It's taking on water here, or about to. The little spigot is not down from the water tower, but behind it are those passenger cars in that orange kind of color that Dad modeled a couple of those cars. And then, just the kind of the scenery. So I think what would happen, the train would come up to a location. All the people that wanted to get down would actually get off the train, and then it would reverse itself, and then it would come and do a series of run-bys. And so here is that run-by as it gets under that typical black smoke. I think this is an oil burner and not I don't believe it's a coal burner. But yeah, so this is our father taking these photos, as far as I know. It was on slides that he still had. So these were the first slides that I actually was able to scan. And not all of them turned out too well. The color correction has gotten bad over time. But there's a passenger car. And this is all in Northern California. So it's near Dunsmuir, if you know where that is. There's a big railroad facility there for the Southern Pacific in Dunsmuir. And McLeod River Railroad was a little short branch line that went out to do lumber and freight loads. And so here it is going across this nice looking trestle here. I think it's possible that this trestle is spanning Lake Shasta, but I don't really know the location.
Yeah, so back in the day, what I remember about this is that, of course, now you can take your smartphone and just share it with the screen that you're watching and show people the photos that you've taken or the ones that you want them to see on your phone, and kind of have this group experience where everybody's looking at the same photo at the same time. But back in the 70s, Dad would set up this square screen in the living room.
That's right.
And pull up this old slide projector that wasn't a carousel; it was a cube-based slide projector.
And it wasn't old at the time.
No, it was a brand new Bell and Howell slide projector that you would load all these slides into these little cubes, and then there would be a pickup cube and a drop cube, and the slide would drop in there, and everybody would look at the dumb picture that you took on your phone. And, the joke is everybody would pretend to be interested when the slides were being shown, but.
And these are just some of the pictures. These were just all of the pictures that Dad had taken of. I mean, he was fascinated by this. And then we've got a picture of a crane here. Number 25 again. Just various pictures he saw while being a rail fan back in the late 60s and early 70s. So really nice picture of one of the cabooses. And then here you go. There is actually a shot of the 25 taking on water. At this time, though, I would not have been any of those boys in these photos. I was probably, if I was there, I was really young.
Yeah, and I don't may not have even been there for some of the ones you're looking at.
You may have been on one excursion, but I don't remember that. So here's another one of those excursions, and this was when it's in the wintertime, passing in front of the train station, McLeod River Railroad Company. So there was a lot of snow up there, and so this is around Lake Shasta or Mount Shasta area. Mm-hmm. And then I don't know where we're cutting back, but there's no snow on the ground here. But now you're back, and I believe this is a shot of Mount Shasta from a train in the top of somebody's head here. Mm-hmm. But then here's another place where the train is let people get down, and you're able to take photos as it goes past, and then you come back and you'll pick people up again.
Which is really cool because if you go on those excursions, which of course, the ones that I remember is Durango and Silverton and Colorado, and I don't know, it was late 70s that I got a camera for my birthday, and we went to the Four Corners first and took these obnoxious pictures where one leg and one arm was in each of the 4 states of Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, and Arizona.
Yep.
And then we went on to Durango and Silverton and took that excursion trip, and I remember that being just very impactful, memorable, winding through the canyons in the narrow gauge train. And so the fact that they would stop and you could see the train, when you're on it, you don't see the train. So it's cool that they would do the run-bys for all the fans that can take pictures of the train.
And in the shot here again, this is the 25 pulling the excursion train, and we're passing the number 21 Santa Maria Valley that's off to the side. And then the really nice crane car. And then this is now, I think, jumped over to Dunsmuir. And there's a turntable there, and there's some, maybe, I don't know what these are, but these are some really dirty old, well, they weren't old then, but some SP diesels that are at the Dunsmuir turntable. And some high hoods and some low hoods. I don't know all of the details about these. It maybe even be, looks like some 6 axles there. They could be some SD40s. But don't quote me on that. I mean, I'm not a good guy to recognize what all these things are. But this was pretty cool that he was able to rail fan this in the 70s. And then this is a kind of like a fantasy shot. So Dad exchanged photos with a number of people and cars. Did car exchange with others in the hobby, and I do have photos of the things that he did, but I'm not going to get into that at this point. He did make this log car, and it was a piece of wood. It would have been huge in HO scale, but he put 2 trucks on it.
Yeah.
He put there, you see his logo, which was Arizona Transcontinental, and it's got a number, 1974. My guess is he might have made that. He could have, well, maybe not 1974. I bet he made this after that. But he sent this car to a fellow who had this railroad that he called the and sorry, this is a larger side. I split in 2 halves. I had to take it. And then we're back over to, where are we? It looks like the number 25. I think we're back to Shasta again. And that's all those things there. Now, let me see. Let's talk about Freedom Train.
Okay.
Because we had a lot of things so we were all like excited about the bicentennial.
1976.
We had so many cupcake sales. We had to raise money to go there, so we were up in Flagstaff, and the Freedom Train made it to Tempe, Arizona. And so
about 2 hours from us.
I've got photos of the 4449, which is, I've come full circle. I mean, this locomotive right now is, in fact, I have been in an excursion train behind this on a very short run, like a Christmas train. Unfortunately, it's not able to pull those anymore right now due to some track issues and some not being able to get onto the lines. But yeah, let's talk about Freedom Train, because that was such an exciting thing. And remember, we collected stuff, like you had some, there was like these important facts about these pennies, right?
Yes.
About Lincoln and Kennedy.
Yes, I have that penny still. It's a Lincoln penny with an overprint of Kennedy's profile on the penny. So it's a stamped penny, and then it would say they both had vice presidents named Johnson, and they were both assassinated after being elected in 1860 and 1960, and just comparing the two, and just those kind of Freedom Train related things. Of course, the Freedom Train had the Liberty Bell on it, and it also had the Declaration of Independence, and it had basically, it was a rolling museum of American history, and that really spurred some interest on my part into history, and American history in particular. And I got my minor in college in history, and if I had to do it again, I would have got my major in history, but it was a lot more fun than what I actually studied. But
so I actually was taking time manually to quickly put, I noticed, I just remembered that when I'm sharing my desktop, that I only had one of our faces in there, so you've only been seeing me talking, but Dan is right across from me, and you should be able to hear him just fine. Let's go. I'm looking at the wrong thing. We need to go back to the photos. So 4449, this was one of the locomotives that pulled the American Freedom Train. It wasn't the only one. In fact, it did have some issues where it needed repair while it was out there. There was also on the eastern side, there was another locomotive that I believe has been restored or is in the process of being restored as well, that pulled the Freedom Train.
Now,
So
was that Union Pacific or Southern Pacific? Do you know?
which one?
The 4494.
4449 was originally a 484 GS 3, I think it is, and I think that stands for. Well, I won't even pretend to remember what that's for, but those were primarily painted to pull the daylight trains.
Right.
Now they were also painted all black as well, and that might have been war painting.
So the daylight would have been probably Southern Pacific with the gold.
It wasn't.
And the red.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. Probably it was. So
Yeah.
So the daylights were in their colors, and in fact, you've seen. I've got one of the passenger trains.
And for the Freedom Train, they repainted that stripe into red, white, and blue.
Right. So the history of this locomotive was in the early 70s. They were looking for a locomotive to pull this train. It just so happened that a couple of locomotives were sitting in a park owned by the city of Portland. And this locomotive, the 4449, was sitting there. There was a gentleman whose name escapes me, sorry, but he had he went out there and kept the oil going and maintaining it so that, it didn't completely get rust, or the joints or the parts wouldn't be rusted together. But right before that Freedom Train came in fact, they did this really fast, I think. They restored this to operation in a matter of, under a year, I think. And one of the guys who was involved in that was a fellow named Doyle McCormick. He is still with us today. He is a member of the Oregon Rail Historical Society, and you can actually see this particular locomotive. It will still be under steam on occasion. Earlier in May, May, it's October, 5 months ago, there was the National Train Day, and I went down there and I had videos. And this 4449 was under steam, and this other one, the Spokane, Portland, and Seattle number 700, it's also so the GS2s and GS3s are also named Northern class. So they're also that 484 configuration, but it's a different a different configuration. They were built for different companies. So that particular one was built either for Northern Pacific or for the SPS. But let's go back and talk about, because we're going down a lot of rat holes, and I want to go back over here and see where we're going with time. Wow, we're over 30 minutes in this one, so I think we still have a lot we want to cover here, and we're not going to break this up into 3 episodes, but I did want to spend some time and talk about, let's get back into your memories about going down to see the Freedom Train with your class from Weitzel Elementary.
Right. You mentioned the pencils earlier, the same Weitzel Elementary School we both attended, and it was like, I think, 3rd grade that we went down there. And I went to see the Freedom Train twice, once with the class and then once with the family, because I'm pretty sure that we as a family went down there to see it.
I think what happened was this. I think our classes might have went at 2 different times.
Well, that might be.
So I'm thinking that if you went down there at a different time, that you went down there at the same time that I did, and I was already there. Because I was there. That's what I think we did. I don't really recall, but I know we've got pictures, and they may even be here, but they weren't that great of pictures now.
Yeah.
In fact, the slide you see right now, it's really faded. The blue is not very bright.
Almost all the colors washed out of those.
Yeah.
That's what happens with 50 years of a print, too. Or was that a slide?
These were slides.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's amazing that this locomotive is still under steam, and actually what they managed to do with this thing. The other thing that's interesting about this particular locomotive, you can see in this shot, they actually have it under steam. as this 1970s pickup truck goes like in front of the camera where Dad's standing to shoot the photo. And then look at that. There's a VW bug, and somehow there's like a scratch in the film. Oh, there's the other thing. Liberty Bell.
Right.
The Liberty Bell was there in one of the display cars. So one of the things they did was they collected all of these important things from American history and put displays kind of almost like a Disney kind of display, right? Like where you're going through and viewing this stuff.
Flavor.
But in this day and age where everything is like instantaneous and you can just Google anything, or you can go find stuff on YouTube anywhere, there's a tangible thing to going and seeing something. And I think it's one thing I really enjoyed about going and seeing. I don't recall a lot of this. I don't know. I believe we did get to go on the train, but I don't even recall. I mean, I've seen videos of it later. And it's like, oh, wow, there was all that stuff. I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But what I do remember more recently, and I'm going off the rails a little bit, but similar to the Smithsonian, or going to any of these kind of museums where you've preserved things from the past. And it's really interesting to see and almost be able to go and touch those things.
Yeah, I think there was like wax figures of the founding fathers, and they were. I remember them being very concerned about the Liberty Bell maybe getting damaged as it was on the Freedom Train trekking across the country.
Well, I'm not even certain. It may not even have been the real one, but I don't recall.
Conspiracy theories now.
Well, I don't know if it's that or if they had replicas that were there. In this particular photo, I think you're seeing one of the first steam engines that's inside of a passenger car. That's the display, and it's a Baltimore, Ohio, like some really old steam engine.
One of the first.
As well as in this particular photo, you've got, if not one, then a replica. It's definitely not one that they drove on the moon, but there's a moon buggy in this photo, and then on the other side there's like a Model T.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then you've got, they had external displays, and then inside there was kind of like I think there was like a people mover, or like this. You didn't walk through it. I think you stood on this thing, and it was like a conveyor belt.
Maybe.
In the background, you might notice this is parked in Tempe, Arizona, and behind there is Sun Devil Stadium, as it was in the 1975, 70, probably 76, where we would have been now, maybe even 77.
Yeah.
And then that mountain that's right behind there. So if you're a fan of, if you've ever seen the Sun Devils game, there's people that can go up on that mountain and look down in the stadium. Yeah, but certainly lots to see there. The Freedom Train.
So we saw it when it was in Arizona, but it was on a year-long excursion, I think.
It was at least a year where it went all over the place. So the actual Freedom Train cars made it all over the country. Probably not to every place, but certainly to a lot of cities.
Right, and obviously it stopped in the more populous places probably for longer, but which is why I never went to Flagstaff, even though we had Santa Fe running right through town. It's like, well, why should we stop for 40,000 when we can stop for 1 million people in Phoenix metropolitan area?
The other thing is of note was that this was made. So I think a few businessmen put together this whole idea to celebrate the bicentennial, so 200 years. So here we are coming up on 250, which will be next year. And also 250, we just celebrated this year. The Army and the Navy just had their 250 year anniversary.
Because they weirdly predate the country.
Well, you kind of needed an Army and Navy to get independence.
Before they even declared it, they had an Army, though. The Continental Congress had started the Army. Started the Navy.
Even before the 1776. So
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, so if we go through this, there's a number of, we got like 30 some slides to go through here, but there's a lot of things that Dad took. And I think I actually put together a little video segment of this. You can find it elsewhere on my channel. And there's that white VW bug again. It seems to be in every photo.
Following us around.
And here's an example of a very bad shot. It's almost a negative. It's black and white. You can see Dan standing there next to our mom in front of the 4449. And this series, this may even have been from that other visit, because I noticed that the photos are like all washed out. There's hardly any color in them. Yeah, and so that's all I got on that. And so let's change direction here. I think we're gonna have to figure out how to tie these things up, but I think we can go for another 20 minutes here. So I'm going to go back and transition us back to the side by side here. So that was all slides from our childhood. Our dad took those photos, so there's a tie-in there. But he really did enjoy stuff, and he had artistic stuff going on with him. Mm-hmm. And he had a number of other things that he really enjoyed, including a different form of being an artist. He spent some time being an actor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not talking about an actor as in television or something like that, but
no, local community theater.
Yep.
Both in association with the university there, Northern Arizona University, and also with a local community type theater in Flagstaff, where he played on Guys and Dolls, and the Music Man, I think, was one of the things. But the preeminent one was when he played Charles Dickens in A Christmas Carol, and I remember going to see that in the theater there, and not knowing that he was actually playing two roles, but knowing that there was my dad up there acting as the narrator, and then he came out later as the Ghost of Christmas Past. And,
right.
Talking about blow your mind as a young kid. You're like, what?
So going here, I kind of have this sort of set up. It's propped up on a beaker. Why is it a beaker? Well, my dad had this Pyrex beakers as part of his kind of like second or third chapter of his life. Mm-hmm. He got a PhD, yep. And he did a lot of research for both, I think, for the Army, for the government, on the things that he earned his PhD in, and which was kind of related to geology, but it was mostly about this field of how things, minerals, plants react when there's sun shining on them, and what kind of things you can see reflected back in the light when you have a scientific instrument that's looking at certain things. And we won't go into the nitty-gritty details in there because they would escape.
Fraunhofer line discriminator.
Yeah.
FLD.
Yeah. But in the photo here, and over on this other camera here, and again, I have to amend this shot because I got to bring Dan in here as well. But this is one of the things that Dad liked to do. Let's see, I need to get rid of that.
He built a fantasy railroad, and of course he named it after his initials.
Yep.
So his initials were AT, and this became the Arizona Transcontinental. And he had an entire set of boxcars, and he had the log car that you mentioned earlier. He had a tanker. I've gotten most of those at home. He had steam and also diesel. I think you have the diesels and a display case here. and just a number of cars that he would paint up with this sky blue over copper, because Arizona is known as the copper state. He has huge copper mines in Arizona.
And this one, I think, it wasn't necessarily copper. It was more of a kind of a brownish color, or I don't think it was ever really copper, but I can't tell you right now.
Well, it wasn't shiny copper.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was kind of like, meant to kind of pull all those things together and be reminiscent of what the state might come up with as a fictional railroad if it was named Arizona Transcontinental and shipped its wares all over the country. But he enjoyed running those. We mentioned the Flagstaff Model Railroad Club in the last part, and if people didn't see it, they should go back to your channel and look at and watch on that, and also like and subscribe, because you can't do that enough to really boost this content if you enjoy listening to people talk
or if you just found this and we're just reminiscing on our own past, and who knows, I don't think, it might not be that appealing to, but hey, everybody starts somewhere. Here's another little beaker. This is a 25 mil, almost like a shot glass. But why did I get this out? These things I saved off of Dad's desk. These are 2 dice. Dad liked to play games too. He made things, but late in life, he got tired of figuring out how he was going to generate passwords all the time. So he would roll the dice, and he had a little lookup thing, and he said, "Oh, that's a 9, so that means I'm going to use letter P or something like that."
That's so funny.
And so he said, "Oh, this will be random." It probably wasn't as random as he needed it to be, but then again, Dad knew computers, but he knew computers from when they were like Star Trek, like, back in the day, the original series.
Blinking lights and transistors and resistors.
So hopefully this comes out well. We don't have I think that's not that much glare, but
so this is a sketch of a couple of things. One is his caboose and what and so he sketched that to kind of, you talking about artistry, and then colored it in of how he might paint that up, and then also there's some little sketches of like a display case or a shelving unit that he put in a house that we built in Flagstaff, and so.
Well, actually, what that was, what it seems like, you can see it says carry, and like maybe.
So it's folding up, and
so this was meant to be a display case or something where he could put things like model cars or something like that, and then take it into a display mode when it's fully extended, or then through a series of hinges, collapse it into kind of like something he could be carried around.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever created that, but he did dream up a lot of stuff like that. Here's another thing that I framed up, and this was taken from a newspaper clipping, the Arizona Daily Sun, which was our local newspaper, and this is Dad. He's in the center there with the railroad cap on, and he's looking at looks like there's coal porters there with the Santa Fe, and it's pulling it past around one of the curves in the upper parts of the layout at the Flagstaff Model Railroad Club.
Yeah.
And it says something like the county fair fine arts exhibit features work in several different media, including oil, watercolor, pencils, sculpture, photography. In addition, woven and mixed media pieces are on display. So those are the other places, and then that's probably part of the tail end of a story. So I don't even know. And it was talking about the county fair. But then it's like all aboard, and I'll read this here. Arnold Tyson of the Flagstaff Model Railroad Club tends to his duties to see that the trains keep moving around the elaborate display maintained by the club. The exhibit is a perennial favorite with young and old. And I can concur there.
True.
We spent most of our summers all the way up through high school out there running trains around.
Or sleeping under the layout.
Oh yeah, on Thursday nights. Thursday nights would be the times when they would have the stuff. So here's some more of those
We'd go out
those
with him,
sketches.
and then it would come to our bedtime, and so he wasn't done working or playing out there. So he had cots set up that he would put us on underneath the layout and tell us to go sleep, and then he'd get us up and take us home.
And I don't know about you, but I don't think I ever slept when I was there.
No, I would sleep with everybody.
And then, of course, they would do this other thing where they would go after the club was done, and they would go and convene and go to the local Denny's.
Yep.
And they would, drink sodas, and at the time, people would sit there and smoke because that's what you did. And then there. So I'd said a little bit about Dad being an actor, but he was also like a showman. And after he graduated, after Dan and I graduated, Dad went back and got his PhD. Mm-hmm. It was always kind of one of his dreams. He had many dreams. But after he completed that, he ended up, what he thought, and I'm not sure that it ended up that way, but he thought, hey, well, this is really a great dream. I'm going to do a postdoc at Epcot Center.
Yes.
In Florida. So they spent some years down there, and he coined this kind of character.
Right. Persona.
And we saved one of the license plates. Maybe we have both of them.
We have both.
And this was...
Don't tell Virginia. Apparently they're looking for this.
Yeah, apparently Virginia's trying to track us down. But they're expired, so they're no good anymore. Dr. Light.
Yeah.
So that was his little character that he was going to use to be a showman about kind of like what's going on in the experiments that they were running there. Some other things that I've rescued.
So you would go through Epcot Center, and as you were walking through one of the displays, he would be there with kind of a low-res robot that he was interacting with. And as people would walk through, they would say, oh, and there's Dr. Light over there working on the plants and trying to make our world a better place.
So another thing that I saved, he spent some field time, but this is a USGS case for, I believe there's a compass in here, if I can get it out.
Yeah, he spent nearly
even
2
says
decades.
His name on that.
At the U.S. Geological Survey, first in Flagstaff, when he couldn't go to school for his master's degree.
There you go. Oh, you can see Dan's face right there.
I'm in the shot twice now. That's too much of me.
So this is used to cite and get some very precise directional things, and it doesn't even appear that it's even...
Yeah, and this isn't a toy. He used this out in the field, walking around across, you mentioned the Cinder Hillbillies. I don't remember if that was this episode or the last episode, but as a 4-H club, the cinder cones, the volcanic cinder cones, like Sunset Crater is probably the most famous one, is this dark red color, and the cinders are just little rocks. They're super lightweight, and it's the weirdest thing to just have them all piled up. But that's one of the things he did, was walk all over northern Arizona looking at volcanoes and looking at other kind of geological formations and working with USGS, and then eventually working with light and fluorescence and all that.
So, speaking of rocks, so he always had this rock. I think he got this on one of the field trips when he was in college. His undergraduate he completed from Cal State University Hayward.
Right.
And so he spent many a summer on field trips going here and there in the Rockies, in the Sierras. Mm-hmm. Probably mostly in the Sierras because it was really close there. But this rock, some kind of, I don't know what it is.
It's granite of some kind.
Yeah, some kind of granite. Mm-hmm. But it's not like a granite countertop, because you have to cut it and polish it and everything. And then there's this rock that I always remember, and I don't even know where he found this. But we had a name for this. We called this the Jupiter rock.
Yep. It's got that giant spot on it.
So it looks like Jupiter somehow. But, and there's the back side of it.
No idea where he got that from.
But I saw it there and it's like, we're not going to throw that away.
I've got a lot of his collections of rocks the smaller ones, and they're actually on my O-scale train shelf.
So here is another sighting compass that actually is still working. So it says off to that direction over there is more or less north. So yeah, lots of stuff that we that I rescued from little things here and there. That's not the only thing. I think I've got a map case that he created. So when he was out in the field and doing sketches, so as a geologist, you'd go out in the field and you would not only have to figure out like how high are you or whatnot, but you actually get on an already map and actually start coloring in the types of rock or the types of geology that are there. And that could help you understand where did this come from. But anyways, I think we're getting close to the end of this.
Can I show my prop?
Dan's got another thing to show. So let's see. Let me get him on his full view here first.
This is a...
Hold on a second. Let me get you in full view there.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is, according to the writing on it, which was his writing, and he's written the same thing on both sides, I think. No, it's slightly different. Original container sealed since 5/18/1980. Transferred 9/21/2010. Volcanic fallout from Mount St. Helens eruption, May 18th, 1980. Yakima, Washington. So this is... I don't know how many miles away from Mount St. Helens, but
it's a good distance away. But
his brother Jim and his wife Margaret lived in Yakima at the time, I guess, and they scooped this up off of their car or off of their property somewhere, and it's kind of a touchstone because it's from that time back when we were kids, of course, 1980, Mount St. Helens.
Okay.
It was a significant event as a geologist that he was interested in, and there's two of these bags, and so this one I'm leaving with you. So
all right, well there you go. Something that is from originally. This was in the mountain that you can see the tops blown off of it. Still, you can walk around up in there almost. You can't walk into it. It's still kind of off limits, and sometimes it. Has another small eruption kind of event. But let's see, go back to the side by side here because we have another guest, and it is something else that our dad really enjoyed.
Yes.
Dachshunds.
Yes.
So we had several dachshunds growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Our most famous one that we had was named Whiskers.
Yes.
We had them when we lived in California. Yeah, like my finger.
And then we had a pair named Schnapps and Strudel.
Yeah, and there was another one that was in between there. That was named Snooper, but he didn't last too long.
Snooper had to go away.
He was not compatible with our family.
Yeah.
I think it's the best way to say it. I think he just had he was from the dog pound, and he had some behavior issues. But still, hopefully he found a great home. But so BenBen is here. The reason why Dan is here right now, as we close up this into the second half an hour, I mean, I could have made 3 shows out of this. But thanks everybody for watching. If you're still around right now, you're really interested in our past and our just reminiscing about things. And even if you're not, I guess this is going to be here who knows how long. So if anybody ever wants to come back and find out things about what we remember, just a brief history about things that we recall, it's going to be up there, including BenBen's barking.
He wants to talk, I guess.
Well, I think it's here right now. It's 5:20, and it's getting past his normal time to go eat. So, with all that said, thanks so much for joining me on this second part of the show here, Dan. And if I can get through without him barking too much, maybe you can pick him up or something.
Oh, he wants to play.
Yeah, he said, enough, guys. Enough, guys. So
Sitting here too long.
we are going to, well, I've got it just on me right now, but in fact, behind me, you can see a book that I have never read, which is How to Raise a Dachshund. Along with other things, Lego and everything. But Rocky says, thanks for watching. And, next week will be November 8th. And we will have layout photos of the month for the month of October. I'll have those ready and prepared to go. And then we'll have an after the layout photos show again as a live show. So episode 61 will be another after the photos show. And I'll be back and still recovering from jet lag probably. But so waving to you now from the past. So yeah, right now it's October 6th, but it'll be November 1st when this goes live. And there you go. That's all I got to say. Said a lot. And thanks so much, Brother Dan, for being here and helping me take care of our dog, BenBen, and being here to just mind the house while I'm away. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. And what do I say? I'll be back.
Bye.
Next week. So there, everybody wave. We can say goodbye to everybody. And we'll see you all next week. And when Ben will be back in Ohio. Thanks for watching. See you next time.